Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Cover 2 podcast. I am Nick Nenad.
I'm Jared Smith.
And today we have a football-filled show for you today. A lot of big-time Week 16 matchups in the NFL to talk about, including Jared's Dallas Cowboys that, even at 7-7, have an extremely important game this weekend. We will also dive into the Patriots scandal because we talked about it last week, but there's a little bit of new developments. We now have video and audio evidence of what they've been talking about with this whole Bengals sideline thing.
Spygate 2.0.
Yeah, and then if we have a little bit of time at the end, we are going to talk about Lakers and Clippers because we will not have another show before Christmas. We will release something.
Not just a show, but a show.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a prediction show for the college football playoff that we'll release next week, but we won't be talking about anything else besides that next week. So we'll talk about Lakers and Clippers, and we will most likely disagree on who we think is going to
Lakers fan, Clippers fan. Enough said. There won't be a whole lot of...
Yeah, we have to get it in there. But nonetheless, let's jump back into football. We have Cowboys, Eagles, Vikings, Packers. We of course have Seahawks and 49ers next week, which we'll talk about because pretty much that game is still going to matter no matter what. And again, we won't talk about that next week, so we'll jump into that. And then, of course, we'll get into the Patriots scandal. But let's talk about Eagles, Cowboys. We've kind of been looking forward to this game for a long time, or looking backwards, however you want to say it, because this shouldn't be a matchup for the playoffs, but the way the NFL is, that it is the way it is, and the game does matter.
It matters. And here's the thing. People have been saying, no matter what these two teams do, right? Cowboys can win, Eagles can win, Cowboys can lose, Eagles can lose. It's going to come down to this matchup, and I feel the NFL has done a fantastic job over the last, I would say, decade or so of every year when they come out with the schedule, they purposely, at the end of the year, schedule teams facing their division opponents because a lot of times it comes down to that last game or two against a division opponent to get into the playoffs. And as we just mentioned with the Cowboys and Eagles and some other teams, that is exactly what's going to happen now, whether these teams are fighting for an actual playoff spot or just potential seeding if they're already in. Either way, it's an important game, and the playoffs start right now.
Yeah.
For the Cowboys and the Eagles, the playoffs started last week. Both teams were able to win, which sets up an even bigger matchup this week. But in reality, a lot of people say, oh, the playoffs are starting in 2 weeks. No, the playoffs start this Sunday when the Cowboys travel to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Let's remember, earlier on in the season, the Cowboys had arguably their best game before this past Sunday when they beat the Rams.
Yeah.
When the Cowboys beat the Eagles, they shellacked them.
That's true.
They beat them by over 30 points. They had forced 4 turnovers. Carson Wentz looked like a shell of himself. And the Cowboys proved that when they play their brand, their style of football, they are going to be a tough out. And obviously they've had a lot of inconsistent play up and down. They've had some injuries to deal with. But up until last week when they beat the Rams, you haven't seen that kind of dominating performance on offense, defense, and special teams from this Cowboys team. And that's why it makes a fan like myself so frustrated because you know the talent that this team has on both sides of the ball. And the fact that if they just play their game and they don't make mistakes, they don't turn the ball over, they don't get dumb penalties, this team can play with any other team in the league. But they end up shooting themselves in the foot time after time, and like ESPN's Stephen A. Smith always says, the Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen. And unfortunately, I have to agree with him because they've proven to be that way. So I'm excited for this matchup on Sunday against the Eagles in Philadelphia. It's almost a certainty the Cowboys will not blow out Philadelphia. The stakes are...
I don't know about that.
The stakes are too high. Listen, a division game, you're not going to blow out an opponent twice in one season. Listen, the Eagles went into Washington. Washington is pathetic, right? They have a chance to get the number 1 or number 2 spot in the NFL draft this year. That's how bad they are, right? When you have the top pick in the NFL draft, that means that you are not a good football team. And the Eagles had to win on a last second touchdown pass.
Don't forget the Giants also went wire to wire with the
Eagles. Right. But
so,
what I'm saying is when you play a division opponent, a lot of times because you know them so well, you play them twice a year, you know the opponents. It's not like you're playing a team in another conference where you play once every 4 years. There's a lot of familiarity that goes on with these two teams. So I think it's a lot easier to scheme and scout for these players and teams. And I don't see this being an easy game for Dallas at all. I think it will be very difficult for them to go in there and win.
I think there's a lot of factors that can determine whether that happens. I'll say this off the bat. I think the Cowboys will win this game, no matter what. Okay?
I like that. It sounds great.
Yeah. I just think what they did to the Rams last week was so surprising to me because the Rams looked so good the past 2 weeks, and the Rams needed to win that game. The Cowboys didn't need to win that game, realistically. They did, but they also don't. You know what I'm saying? Like the Rams,
they from a momentum standpoint.
The Rams now have a 2% chance of making the playoffs after losing this game.
2?
The Cowboys, I can guarantee the percentage would have been a lot higher after that, just because of the whole division thing. So, Cowboys going into this, number one, very hot. Like you said, though, it's every single week there's been a different Cowboys team. So realistically, you can't predict who's going to show up on the field. But this was the best possible scenario for Dallas going into the most important game of the year.
Win and you're in.
The other thing is the health of the Philadelphia Eagles. Because when they've played the Giants and when they've played the Redskins, they've been very, very depleted at certain positions. They've been missing a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, I believe they're on like their 4th and 5th wide receivers right
now.
now.
They had Greg Ward Jr. as the number 1 wide receiver against the Giants.
Who?
He used to get quarterback at Houston.
Okay,
like 3 years ago.
All right.
So apparently they had Josh McCown suiting up to play wide receiver potentially in that game. So
see, I know what you're doing right now. You're trying to set this up to get my hopes up.
No,
and then we're like, the Cowboys are gonna blow them out.
No.
I'm not doing that. I'm not falling into your trap right now because
you're making me sound so mean.
No, I know you.
That's not what
I know you. It's okay. You don't have to ever come out and admit it, but I know you too well.
No,
it's okay.
No. I would not be wearing.
Did I get you off
I'm
track
not
a
wearing
little
an
bit?
Eagles jersey or anything.
All right, I'm just saying.
But no. There's a lot. They could be missing Lane Johnson coming into this game. If Jordan Howard isn't healthy, they're only pretty much one running back deep.
You're basically saying that like
Nelson Aguilar is not healthy. If he doesn't come back, I mean, I see the Cowboys winning this game no matter what. I'll sit here and say it. I just think it would be so ridiculous if the Cowboys ended up losing to the Eagles 1-on-1 and then end up not
with how depleted they are.
Exactly. And just not to get all these guys back, it'll be a close game. I just think Dallas is a better team, so I'm going to pick them. And the way both these teams they've been so flippy-floppy with every single game. I'm just going to go with what roster is there. And what roster is better right now and more healthier is the Cowboys, barring any injuries this week in practice or anything like that.
True statement.
So I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I just think if Nelson Aguilar doesn't play, and if Lane Johnson especially doesn't play, and if Ronald Darby doesn't play, and if Jordan Howard doesn't play, there is literally no reason why the Cowboys should not win this game. And they already whooped him when they had Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Howard and all these guys and Lane Johnson. And so there is no reason the Cowboys should lose, and I don't think they will lose. I'm very confident with that pick.
So I love that, right? And it makes me feel a lot better.
Of course.
Right? Because the Eagles don't have their full arsenal ready to go out and play against the Cowboys. Here's the thing for Dallas. I think regardless of who suits up for the Eagles, everyone is saying, Dallas leads the NFL in total yardage per game. Dak Prescott is throwing for close to 400 yards a game, right? They've become more of a passing team. I think still in reality, we saw this Sunday against the Rams, Dallas had 2 running backs rush for over 100 yards, and Ezekiel Elliott and backup Tony Pollard, who's a rookie. Dallas, even though many people will say, they've leaned on Dak a little bit more, when they have success, it's because they still run the ball effectively.
Yep.
And they start with Ezekiel Elliott, which then leads to the play-action game and, one-on-one matchups for Dak Prescott to throw to his receivers. So even when opponents are stacking the box with 7 and 8 guys in the box, you still have to run it sometimes because you can't just go away from that. We saw the Cowboys, when they had their 3-game losing streak, at times Ezekiel Elliott only touched the ball, I believe it was 9 times in one game. He is the highest paid running back in the NFL. You just gave him like over $50 million guaranteed, and there's been multiple games this year where Ezekiel Elliott has had less than double-digit touches.
You know when the last time that happened?
Ever happen.
You know when the last time that happened? Was when he was at Ohio State. Remember, you called out Urban Meyer?
Right.
And I believe that was the year they ended up winning the national championship. Not saying the Cowboys are going to win
Well,
the Super Bowl, but it's been proven that when you don't use Zeke, and I know there's certain scenarios where the Cowboys couldn't use Zeke. When you're down by 20, you can't be running the ball every single time.
I understand that.
So, I think if Jason Garrett can just realize that and look back on it and look, hey, this happened to him in college, and then when you give him the ball and he's motivated, he can win you a championship.
Well, see, I don't think this is about Ezekiel Elliott being motivated. I think this is about the offensive coaching staff saying, we have to mix up our play.
They got to be smarter.
They have to be smarter, and you have to be a little more level as far as your passing and your running. When a defense knows that you were just going to drop back and pass, they don't have to play against the run. Their defenders can pin their ears back and just come after the quarterback, and it makes it a lot easier to play defense, right? When you don't know what's coming at you, when it can be a run to the inside or the outside, or a draw, or a screen, or a pass, obviously it becomes a lot more complex for defense to stop the offense. And as we saw on Sunday, when the Cowboys had everything flowing, their running game, especially when they ran for over 200 yards, that the Cowboys didn't even need to pass. I believe Michael Gallup had 1 or 2 receptions. I mean, Amari Cooper, you kind of barely heard his name. He had a reception in the first quarter which converted a third down. It was a big third down catch. But really, other than that, you didn't really hear much from the Cowboys receivers because you didn't have to. Because the Cowboys relied on their running game, they relied on their offensive line, which is their strength of their offense, and they played smash mouth football. You come out against a Philadelphia team that Nick has already mentioned is depleted. You play smash mouth football. You hit the Eagles in the mouth, and I think eventually they're going to wear down because they don't have the necessary depth to sustain a 4-quarter game against the Cowboys. And then you come out with play action when you need to. But listen, it's going to be cold. Dak Prescott apparently has an issue with his index finger on his throwing hand. Troy Aikman in Sunday's game said that it was a hairline fracture. There's been some kind of conflicting reports on that. But either way, Dak Prescott doesn't seem to be completely 100%.
He'll be fine.
He's going to be fine. I'm just saying
the
fact that he does have some type of hand injury just, I think, makes it more plausible and reasonable that you would lean on Ezekiel Elliott in the running game.
Give it to Zeke. No, 100%.
So what I'm saying is, Dallas, give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard 30 to 40 times combined, and let Dak be a game manager. I hate that word. I don't like using that word. But in reality, Dak Prescott doesn't have to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game for you to win.
No.
Right?
It's not. You probably shouldn't be. But you should definitely, in the NFL period, if you're passing the ball 40, 50 times, more than likely you're losing.
Unless you're the Arizona Cardinals and that's just your offense and that's what you do.
A lot of those passes are short, though. It's a lot.
It's still a pass.
Hey, we played a good game and we eliminated the Browns and essentially ruined their whole season. They had players asking to play for us.
Oh, wow. Really?
So, yeah, Jarvis Landry was telling people he was telling the Cardinals to come get him.
Wow.
He took the Bell's line, and apparently there was multiple players, including Kareem Hunt, which doesn't make a lot of sense. This Kareem Hunt, they gave you a chance. Okay? And we're not going to get into that.
Interesting. Sorry, that took a little turn. Listen, every once in a while, we still have to throw Nick a bone. His team has been awful
my
the last
team
few
looked
years.
awesome. Kenyon Drake, 4 touchdowns, and was 1 yard away from a 5th.
There we go.
Touchdown.
Every once in a while, we got to give the Cardinals
fantasy football, you can thank me in the playoffs. A lot more important than all this David Johnson talk that's been going on in fantasy football. Kenyon Drake, if you won your playoff game, you need to thank the Cardinals and not give them crap. I almost said.
All right, well, that was about a minute on the Cardinals, a minute too long. So, either way, I think what we're both trying to say is I expect the Cowboys to win. Nick pointed out how the Eagles are decimated on both sides of the ball, and if the Cowboys play to their strengths, if they play their game, they should win this game. It should not be as difficult. I'm just saying, I'm being a little more reserved, knowing that this is a divisional opponent, and knowing that the Cowboys have been a roller coaster team all year long. They haven't had that consistency. So if they can come out and play like they did last Sunday, have back-to-back games where they play well, I'll maybe feel a little bit better about them going forward.
Seahawks and 49ers are hoping it's the Eagles that make the playoffs.
Oh, of course. I think every team is hoping it's the Eagles.
Yeah, no, 100, because the Eagles are definitely not better than the Cowboys. It's just going to take the Cowboys losing, this game to essentially not make the playoffs. But Dallas at home is not that is way harder than it should be for a team that's 12-4, 13-3 in the first round. So let's move on though to another big game. Speaking of teams 11-3, 10-4, Minnesota Vikings versus Green Bay Packers. This game is now turned into a battle for the NFC North. And when we've been talking about the Vikings possibly not making the playoffs and the Rams trying to catch up to them and stuff like that, the Vikings have a chance now to just, get up into the higher seeds and stuff like that and really and get a home game themselves. This game, for me, it's beneficial more for the Vikings that it's in Minnesota. I think that if this was in Green Bay, I wouldn't give them a chance. But because it's in Minnesota, climate controlled, all that stuff, I think Minnesota has a legitimate chance to win this game, and it's one of the reasons Vegas has them favored by, I believe, 4 or 5 points right now.
It's not looking good for Dalvin Cook as far as his playing status.
And that's exactly.
He injured his shoulder in last week's game against the Chargers, and listen, the Vikings are essentially going to be in the playoffs, and I think them as an organization need to be very smart with how they manage Dalvin Cook. Yes, it would be great for them to win this game, but in reality, all you're really trying to do is get into the dance, right? Get into the playoffs. So
they do need to, but if they do lose out and the Rams win out, they don't make the playoffs, though. So and the Rams play the 49ers this week, and they play the Cardinals at home. So there's, that it's not going to say that they don't have the Dolphins and Bengals ready for them, but
right.
But they can't also give up. They can't lose this game and then put it all in the last game, and anything can happen in football.
I'm just saying, you're right. I think this game means
especially
more
if the
to
Rams
Minnesota.
Especially if the Rams beat 49 in the 49ers.
But how much do you risk Dalvin Cook and his shoulder as opposed to saying, hey, we have the necessary depth to win without him. Yeah, listen, the Packers are sitting here right now at 11-3, but we've seen so far a couple years, 11-3, where we've seen so far this season the Packers, when they went to play the Chargers, when they went to play, I believe it was the Rams earlier in the year, right? Like they've had a couple.
Definitely the Chargers game.
They've had a couple stinker games, like where they've stunk up the joint.
Yeah.
Right, and they've looked like a complete shell of themselves.
The Eagles, they didn't play well.
The Eagles, they didn't play well, right? So they're at 11-3, and overall they're playing better. But I don't like Green Bay on the road. I trust Green Bay a lot more at home, and I think that goes to your point as well. If this game was in Green Bay, I think I would say there's no way Minnesota's winning.
Exactly.
The fact that Green Bay has to travel, they just don't seem to. They have a different mentality, and they're a different team on the road. So I think that gives somewhat of the edge to Minnesota, and.
Here's the thing about Minnesota too. Dalvin Cook thing is big, but I don't think that means they can't win the game. Like I said, if the Cowboys were missing Zeke, I'd be like, oh crap, that's not good. Dalvin Cook, obviously one of the best running backs in the league. He's proved that this year. But the Vikings are 6-0 at home this year, and like you were just mentioning, you don't trust the Packers on the road. Now you're not trusting them against a team that has not lost.
Hey, you want to know why I say that? You want to say why I potentially don't trust, or not potentially, why I wouldn't trust the Vikings? Here's the thing. Dalvin Cook doesn't play. That means that you're relying more on Kirk Cousins.
I knew you were going to say this. That's why I was saying that.
And what do we know about Kirk Cousins in big-time games? What does he do?
It's not good.
It's not good at all, right?
Good.
So I get it. You're at home. You got the crowd behind you. But Kirk Cousins, so far throughout his career, not just his short stint with the Minnesota Vikings, his entire career with Washington as well, he has proven that in big games, he does not step up and come to play. This is considered a big game. It's not only a big game against a division rival opponent. This is on Monday Night Football with everybody watching. Right? This is the last Monday Night Football game of the season, and you are going to have to rely more on Kirk Cousins. I don't care what you say if you don't have your lead back. Now, Adam Thielen is back as well, obviously, as Stephon Diggs, one of the best, pair of wide receivers duos in the league. But you want Kirk Cousins throwing the ball 40 times a game?
No.
Against the Packers?
No, I don't. And the other thing is too.
Because that's what's going to happen if Dalvin Cook doesn't play.
I just looked at the injury report, and Alexander Madison is also questionable.
Their backup running back.
Backup running back, yeah. I didn't see that at first when I looked at this, so it's getting a little tight. But 6-0 home. Like I said, I don't think one player changes, especially a running back. We've seen running backs don't really control games as much as they used to back in the day. It is all on the quarterback. I don't trust Kirk Cousins, but I also don't really trust this Packers offense either in these big games too. They've been kind of off and on, not as bad as like the Cowboys and Eagles this year, but there's been, like I said, they only beat the Lions by 1. The Lions have been terrible pretty much all season. There's a couple other games in there where they shouldn't have lost, and they got killed by the 49ers too earlier this season.
The 49ers, that was the other team where they just looked
and
awful.
that's what I'm saying. This is a hard game for me to pick.
This is almost a coin flip. I mean,
well, it's a hard game for me to pick. What I want to do is I want to bet on this game and just bet the plus on the Packers and add some points to it, just so it'd be a close game and I don't have to actually pick a winner.
We are on the Cover 2 podcast right now. They want an answer. They don't want your bet.
I'll give you an answer. I'm actually going to go with Minnesota. I think Minnesota wins this game. I picked them and I pick them this week. I was going to bet on the Packers, line, but that was just because I would have made money, and it's probably something I'm not going to end up doing. I'll probably do it Monday night when I've lost everything.
A true betting man.
Yeah, I'll probably do it on Monday night when I've lost everything the whole weekend. But I know I'm going to go the Vikings. I just think, Minnesota's played well this year. Kirk Cousins has looked a lot better this year than he did last year, and even in the past. This Packers offense, I just don't trust, and being 6-0 at home, I'm not going to say a team that's 6-0 at home is just going to lose all of a sudden in the biggest game of the year.
Minnesota. I could go
That's
either
not
way.
fair. You said I had to take a pick, and then you flipped the bench on the coin.
Listen, I made a pick, all right? I didn't talk about any bets or anything like that. Minnesota, because they're at home, if this was in Green Bay, the coin probably would have went to Green Bay.
If this was in Green Bay, 100% pick Green Bay.
But Minnesota, in a close game, I'll tell you this, for the last Monday night game of the year, I think this will be a very entertaining game. So, it's not like this is Tennessee and Jacksonville in the last Monday night game, just kind of a dud. This is a great game to watch.
I think they did it on purpose, though. I think they knew the Packers and Vikings would at least be competitive, so that Monday night game might mean playoff. They're smart about that. That's why they had the game, Colts and Saints this week, too. It was, we don't need to talk about that. That's so random.
No, we don't.
Who does Minnesota play last? Oh, I think they play the Bears.
That's a winnable game.
It's a winnable game, but it's a lot tougher than the Lions, who the Packers have. So the Packers, you still, Vikings go, and even if they win this game, you still need to win next week, or you lose the division. So this game is for the division, but it's also not in some ways. Green Bay, if they win the division.
In Nick's words, it is, and it isn't.
And it might not be, and it possibly, no, just kidding. Okay, so let's move on to, let's talk Seahawks and 49ers. Now, this is in advance. This is not this week. This is going to be next week, but...
Same thing for the division.
Well, yeah, and this is the last game of the season, and no matter what, it's going to matter. So, I think, right? Well, no, if the 49ers, do they have the same record right now? I don't know why they looked this up before.
I believe they do, but because the Seahawks already beat the 49ers on a last-second field goal, they therefore they right now have the division and the number 1 seed. Okay. And if the playoffs were to start today, my Dallas Cowboys would be hosting the San Francisco 49ers, which I am terrified of.
Oh my gosh.
I would actually prefer that the Cowboys host the Seattle Seahawks.
So they have the same record, which means that game will matter no matter what.
Which means I am rooting for San Francisco to win, because I do not want to play them in the first round.
Yeah, no, this is where the bias is going to come into Jerry.
A little bit.
Okay, so, but coming into this game, yeah, like you mentioned, Seattle can lose to the Cardinals this week if they want to.
They don't want to.
But they don't want to, and because both teams still want a bye, and because amazingly every NFC leader is 11-4, which is awesome, by the way.
Except for the Cowboys.
Or 11-3, excuse me. That's right.
You said every. I had to correct you.
Sorry, most of them.
Most.
Most of them.
75% of them are.
Just give the 49ers the out of East. I don't know. But, no, so these teams are going to want to win this week, obviously. 49ers, they play the Rams. A lot more losable game than the Cardinals at home, which Seattle has. Going into this game, it's going to be in Seattle, right? It's going to be in Seattle?
It will be, yes.
The other game was in the 49ers. I think Seattle has the advantage for sure in this. I think being at home, I told you that Seattle crowd seems a little bit different this year. They seem to be more amped up. I think they realize that their team is a lot better than it has been the last couple of years. So I think they have the advantage going in this game. And the 49ers, who have a young coach, a very young team that haven't been in those huge games against Seattle on the road. They really haven't since Colin Kaepernick was their quarterback, back when they had those battles. Mm-hmm. So I think the advantage goes to the Seahawks going in, barring any major injuries like J.J. Clowney or Bobby Wagner, or of course, Russell Wilson. So, They do. The one thing about Seahawks though is they did lose Rashad Penny last week, which I think is a big part of their offense. I think going into the playoffs, it definitely affects them more. But for the one game, I think it's. I don't think it will matter as much.
You're right. That's huge from a long-term.
Yeah, like when you look at them for the Super Bowl, that might be one of those things where there's a toss-up and you go, they lost Rashad Penny, now they have to rely completely on Chris Carson. That's not as good as having that multi-running back attack.
I agree with you. I like Seattle in this matchup, and I think it's more because of the injury bug that has hit the San Francisco 49ers. Richard Sherman's out for a few weeks with a hamstring. Their safety, just Quisky Tart, is also out. He's been a starter for the entire year. He is dealing with a rib injury. Their defensive end, D Ford, who they traded for from the Kansas City Chiefs in the offseason, he's injured right now as well. So multiple injuries to that kind of high-octane or high-powered defense that has kind of led the way for this team all year long. Now, they're still very formidable, and not to say that they can't go in there and do their job, but when you lose a key defensive rush player and a lockdown corner and then a very good safety, right, those are three key positions right there, and I think that will definitely hinder them. You top that with the fact that the game is in Seattle. You're right, it's kind of setting up for a Seattle win, but because the 49ers have such a reliable running game, and that seems to always keep them in matchups, like you don't really see the 49ers getting blown out, right? All of their games are close. Even when they played the Ravens a few weeks ago, they only lost by 3 points, and that was at the very end of a game by a Ravens field goal. So, regardless of who's out there for the 49ers, they have kind of a great mentality about them and the way they play. They play great defense, they run the ball very well, and that seems to travel everywhere. So I'm picking Seattle, but I think that's going to be a very close game, like something like 21-17, something very, very close. There will be no blowout. I don't think it'll even be a double-digit win. Very close game by Seattle.
I mean, I saw some stats today that said, I think it's 130 or so games since Pete Carroll's been the coach there. I think like 130 of them have been within 10 points or something like that.
So they know how to win.
Yeah, not only they know how to win, that's including the playoffs and all that stuff. Like, they are used to it, and it's almost every single game that they play is close. Like, especially games that they win, they're having to come from behind, or they're having to keep a lead, and it's just, when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who's arguably the best quarterback in the league, that's, I remember saying this a lot during the playoffs last year, where, I like really, really good quarterbacks. I was proven wrong a little bit in the playoffs last year with big wins from Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, but I just, Jimmy G, and I've actually talked to a lot of 49ers fans about this. Whenever I've talked to them about, hey, you guys are really good this season, they always go, yeah, but our quarterback, that's just...
It's always the but.
I don't even say that in the beginning. People are telling me that. They're 49ers fans. So, you look at the quarterback matchup as well, you look at the home field advantage, you look at the used to-ness that the Seattle has in these big games.
Used to-ness? Is that a word?
No, I just created it.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Just look for it in the dictionary in like 3 years.
Interesting.
Couldn't think of something off the top.
Yeah, keep going, man. Keep going.
Messed it up, and I just said a word. But, or 3 words, I guess. I'm going with Seattle. I think this is like 27-21, 27-20. I think they can win it and hold the lead and all that stuff. And they're going to force Jimmy G to have to do some stuff at the end of the game that he's not comfortable with. And I don't think Seattle will carry George Kittle down the field 40 yards and face mask him and all that stuff. They're too smart. So, yeah, I'm going to go Seattle wins this game, and they move on, unfortunately, because I hate the Seattle Seahawks. And they lost me $400 2 weeks ago, too.
I say that unfortunately because for the Cowboys, it seems like they are better suited to play Seattle.
Last year, too.
They played them last year at home.
Defense.
They beat Seattle. Right, but still, if San Francisco wins the division, they get not only the home field advantage, they get a first-round bye and potentially the number 1 overall seed. Wow, I know we've said this before, but it's so crazy to think about, right? You have the NFC East with the Cowboys and the Eagles. One of those teams could potentially be 8-8, maybe 9-7, depending on how things shake out, winning a division.
At best 9-7.
At best 9-7. And then you have Seattle and San Francisco that could potentially be 13-3, right? One of those teams, or 12-4, still very good. And one of those teams is going to have to travel in the first round of the playoffs for a road game at 12-4.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
that's-
obviously the NFL needs to like think about changing it. Here's the thing:
I
I
don't
don't
think
just
they
do it.
do.
Just do it the way basketball does. And the Cowboys will make the playoffs, but they got to be 16. You got to make them earn it without any unfair advantages.
I don't see the NFL doing that
Not even playing
because
the East,
we
right?
don't see this on a year-to-year consistent basis. This happens like once every 5 years or so. Like tell me the last time. Now, in the last couple of years,
For
when
sure, when Carolina played us in the playoffs, and we had Ryan Lindley as our quarterback, I think they were like 7-8-1.
Well, you guys had Ryan Lindley, and I don't even know who that is. So that was your first problem.
Fourth string quarterback.
That was your first problem, right there.
I think it was the lowest rating ever for a playoff game. But no, I think it was 2015 or 14. I can't remember
like
exactly.
I'm saying, 5 years ago.
Yeah, here, look, you said it right.
Thank you.
I didn't listen to it all.
Yeah,
you said that.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying, if this was a consistent year-to-year problem,
We're sitting in the AFC
where
South,
teams,
though, too.
right? Then I think, you know what? No offense, the AFC South does not get the recognition that the NFC East or the AFC East does, right? You don't have the high power magnitude teams. I would say Houston is probably the most recognizable team in that division, but when you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans in that same division, they don't get the same type of clout. And so I think it's not a big deal when one of those teams gets in at 9-7 or 8-8. But when you have a marketable franchise like the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles, who just won a Super Bowl a few years ago, getting into the playoffs at 8-8 or 9-7, I think that kind of makes people talk a lot more, and it makes the NFL look a little worse.
I mean, you literally have four of the biggest cities in the United States all in that division, like Dallas, Washington D.C., New York, and Philadelphia. Like literally, I don't think there's any other division in sports that has that big of cities all in one division. So you're right. Nashville, Indianapolis, Jacksonville.
And Nashville's great.
Those are not. It's great, but no one lives there, so no one watches.
Nick said that.
Ryan
I didn't
Tannehill's
hear from
there.
Nashville. I apologize.
My dad went to college in Nashville, so he said he said it was cool back then. But he also played baseball and stuff like that, so it was a little different.
Anyways,
we're getting off the rails. You want to hear another minute of stories about the Cardinals instead?
Not really. I think what we should do
You guys see that Kyler Murray run, that 35-yard run he had? Future.
Let's talk about Spygate 2.0.
Yes. Real quick, do you think the Bills have any chance to win the AFC East?
I did until Nick said that the New England Patriots still have to play the Miami Dolphins.
Who's Brian Flores? They've been playing a lot better though, Jared. They might be coming to that game with 4 wins.
Wow. If the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots this year, the entire NFL is a joke. The entire NFL is a joke. I'm just saying.
And the Cowboys are probably going to get there. If that happens, the Cowboys are getting to the NFC Championship at least.
Well, you know what? Then I'm rooting for Miami.
The way it is, yeah.
I'm rooting for Miami.
Who isn't?
No, I don't, because the Patriots would have to lose their last 2 games. The Bills would have to win out. And, if the Patriots are playing a more formidable team, yes, I could see that happening, but I do not. Bill Belichick owns all of his former coaches that he plays against. He definitely doesn't have a losing record, and I don't know if any former coach in this decade, or a former coach that's been on his staff, has beaten Bill Belichick, and Nick is actually going to look that up very quickly right now. But if my math and my mind is correct, Bill Belichick is undefeated against his former coaches. Therefore,
I was not looking that up. I'm looking at this mathematical chance for Bills to make
no way. There is.
Well, no, but because I was looking at earlier, the way the playoff is structured, obviously it's head-to-head is first, and that would be a tie between the Bills and Patriots. Then it would be division games, and I believe that they'd be tied in that as well.
So then it would go to...
So then it goes to common opponents, and that's where I don't know. Now, I'm not going to go research that really quickly. It's going to take too long. We'll waste too much time. But because I thought it was conference games. In conference games, it would be the Bills. So it's really just those common opponents. And off the top of my head, they lost to the Ravens. That's the same thing the Patriots did. I don't think they played the Chiefs. So there might be a chance that even if the Bills just win this game, they might be able to win the whole thing.
I love it.
Let's just go Dolphins. It'd make it a lot easier if the Patriots just lost to the Dolphins. And the Bills still have to win this game, too.
Well, that's true.
You think they can beat the Patriots?
I do.
I think they can, too. Patriots are just not that good right now. Like, they're a pretty average playoff team going into this playoffs. I don't think they... At this rate, I don't think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
No.
And that's a crazy thing to say because obviously we're always wrong about that kind of stuff. But it's
Not
just
this
like, it's not, they're relying on N'Keal Harry. Their running backs aren't playing as well. Brady's not playing as well. The defense has kind of slowed its roll down of being this like juggernaut. So, I want to still win the Super Bowl. And against the Cowboys. So the Cowboys will make it. You guys will be all happy. And then it'll be the most annoying coverage in the history of sports.
That would be
We'll have
like,
to
you know,
listen to Skip
America's
Bayless and
team versus the new
Cowboy.
America's team
Yeah.
in the Patriots. Hey, I'd love to see it.
I don't want to have nightmares.
I'd love
so
to
let's
see
stop
it.
talking.
I'd love to see it. You would?
No.
Oh.
I don't want the Cowboys to win.
What
Then
do
I'm
you
going to
have
have to
against
hear
the
you on the podcast.
Oh, you would definitely hear me. We might have to do a live podcast if that happens.
I'll have to get some. If that does happen,
Actually,
I know a lot of Patriots fans. I'll have to get them over here. We'll have to have a debate or something like that.
I would love to do that. Any Patriots fan is welcome on this show to come and debate.
You know who's not welcome on this show? Is the guy that videotaped the Cincinnati Bengals sideline.
No, he's
actually,
not.
he would be. Actually, because that would be a great interview. High ratings. But let's talk about that. Talked about it last week, and we were obviously mad about it. But now there was a video that came out where a very concerned Patriots videographer is getting chided by a couple Cincinnati guys, and it does not look good for the Patriots. And this is like kind of the smoking gun here, because now that there's visual and audio evidence, the Patriots can't get away from this. Like they can't, and the NFL can't just throw this under the rug.
They can't say this wasn't a he said situation.
It's like when we have these unfortunate domestic violence cases, and someone says, "Okay, yeah, there's domestic violence case, but there's no video," and then when we get Ray Rice or Kareem Hunt, they just get destroyed with suspensions. So I think the Patriots are going to get in trouble. So we're going to talk about what we think the punishment should be. Now I'll let you start. We talked about this on Twitter a little bit. But we didn't really get into it because I think we both had the same idea to do it on the podcast. So, what do you think should happen to the Patriots? If indeed it comes out that, like, this was pretty intentional and all that stuff.
Right. I feel that, at bare minimum, the Patriots should lose a specific amount of draft picks. I would say, you know, a first-round draft pick in this upcoming draft and maybe a second-round draft pick next year. Something significant. I think we can both agree that, you know, if the NFL comes down and just fines the team or fines the organization is worth billions of dollars. So when you fine them $250,000, that's not really doing anything. Yeah, it's technically hurting their pockets, but I guarantee you Robert Kraft would gladly write a $250,000 check as opposed to losing a top draft pick or having his, you know, Hall of Fame head coach in Bill Belichick or Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady potentially suspended. Not to say that Tom Brady would be suspended because he is a player and he doesn't necessarily have control or say as to what goes on, but the fact that, you know, Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick are the brains of this entire operation, and they, you know, supposedly control everything. There's nothing that goes on. You can't go to the bathroom without asking Bill Belichick first, right? So, you know, when Bill Belichick comes out and says that they had no idea, to me, that's upsetting because they're insulting our intelligence, right? It's like you see this firsthand. You see the video evidence of this. It's a Kraft Productions, right? That's being taken place. So Robert Kraft obviously has to know about this because this is his own business, his own company that is involved in this production. And the fact that Bill Belichick came out and said that the Patriots organization had nothing to do with this is very insulting because you're basically showing us something and then saying, no, you didn't actually see that, you're just dumb. For that alone, I feel like there should be some type of punishment just for trying to, you know, make people feel stupid, whether you're a fan or a reporter or whatever the case may be. So I would say a loss of draft picks and potentially a suspension for head coach Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. I mean, listen, you suspend the owner. I don't really know what that does. That doesn't really mean anything.
He doesn't have any say on. I mean, what is he not going to make decisions?
Right, but if you suspend head coach Bill Belichick, you take him away for a game or two. You know, you force offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels to step in. You know, Bill Belichick can't go into the facilities for that entire week. Yep. He can't have any
do it during the playoffs. That's what we're saying.
You know, he can't have any communication with the team or the players or anything like that. I think that would be more of a more significant damage as opposed to, just a fine. Which
Here's the thing: no matter what punishment comes out, I don't think it's coming down until next season. I don't think they would do it to the Patriots in the playoffs, just because I don't think they've ever really done that before, where a team something happened and then they get punished in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy.
And we only know of this video evidence against the Bengals, but who's to say that they haven't done this previous weeks or previous years, right? Because it's been a few years since Spygate the first time around. And these potential findings, right, these recording other team sidelines, has given the Patriots an unfair advantage, which has helped them win games. So it's helped them get into the playoffs.
Yeah, we talked about this last week,
Therefore, I think that it would be reasonable to suspend them in the playoffs, because the way that they've played so far this year, they haven't played great. They're not just a juggernaut team, right? So they needed that help in certain games to win games. So maybe if they've lost 2 or 3 more games in the season, the Bills are in first place right now, and the Patriots maybe don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of against that rule that, I don't think it's going to happen either. I think logically that the NFL would not do anything to hinder the Patriots' playoff chances. But I'm not of the mindset that it's out of the realm of possibility. I think that I would be okay with the Patriots, being getting some type of penalty, during the playoffs.
Well, the reason I just don't think it's going to happen is because, like, when you bring up stuff like they're going to look back, I think what they have to do is literally for this entire season, whatever this videographer crew did, they need to go look at every single tape and be like, did you do this to any other teams? Right? And if they see that they did it against the Ravens or Chiefs, that's where you rack up these punishments, and then maybe you see a Belichick huge suspension. Maybe you see a Robert Kraft giant multi-million-dollar fine, GM stuff, draft picks, all that stuff, kind of like what we're looking at with the Astros here. It's a very similar case. The only difference is that the Patriots have done this in the past. The Astros have not, so the punishment I don't think will be as crazy. And that's the other thing. We talk about Vontaze Burfict and people like that. They're repeat offenders. This is at least the 3rd time the Patriots have gotten in trouble for something.
Right.
And the last 2 times they were punished, and Tom Brady was suspended and all this stuff. Something needs to happen. Here's what I think should happen. I think that, and this is drastic, but I think next year, if it's bad enough and they find enough evidence, I think there should be a postseason ban.
Postseason ban?
Postseason ban. Like college football. I think
if
they find enough evidence that says you guys clearly cheated and spied and did all that stuff during games, what's to say that not all these other teams wouldn't do it and be like, oh, our coach gets suspended for 4 games? Oh, we're going to cheat this thing. This is a game that might determine the Super Bowl.
So you're saying...
Why wouldn't you tape the sideline during Super Bowl week if you know you're not going to get suspended?
You're saying if the penalty is not severe enough, that other teams would say, hey, if we can get away with this for a little while, and then if we do get caught...
Exactly, yeah.
If we, the key word if,
we're not
might get away with it.
Playoffs.
We only lose our coach, and maybe we can prepare for that, and,
Yeah, maybe we lose our quarterback for a couple of weeks. I'm always going to go with punish them as worse as possible, because then people don't do it again.
Well, okay, so I agree with that in this sense. I think you have to punish the Patriots very harshly, because we haven't really seen... Yes, this is Spygate 2.0, but this is also different than the first time around. We haven't seen this type... this isn't like an illegal hit, or you mentioned Vontaze Burfict, how he does dumb things on the field and he's a repeat offender. And in the NFL rulebook, there is actual a guideline and a potential fine for that act, right? There's no real writing, or there's no real punishment that is set in stone that says if you film another team, you get X amount of games suspended. You get a draft pick loss, right? I don't believe so. I'm not 100%, but off the top of my head, I do not believe that there is an actual rule book or rules violation for what the Patriots have done. So in saying that, I feel that the NFL does have to come down very harshly to make a big, bold statement that says we will not tolerate this, and this is not allowed, period.
Well, here's the other thing. So for Spygate,
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot. For Spygate, Bill Belichick was fined $500,000. I would expect it to be more. Repeat offender.
$500,000, please. I guarantee you,
the
owner Robert
Patriots
Kraft paid that, by the way.
The Patriots were fined your number, $250,000, and also their first round selection was taken away. So this is what I'm saying. We've already had first round selection, the largest fine ever toward a coach for when they did this over 10 years ago. We're now in a different space where they've done it before, the exact same thing. I mean, you said multiple draft picks now.
Yeah, I would say this year, next year.
Give them all your draft picks you want, and you go, you're not making the playoffs next year. Have fun signing free agents that want to make the playoffs. Who's going to want to sign with the Patriots if potentially Brady's not 34? He's how old is he?
So
25?
you think Brady would then potentially look to retire because this year would be a wash?
I'm saying
Wow. Wow.
Dude, burn them. Everybody hates them except for people from Boston. Nobody wants to see them in the playoffs, number one, and nobody wants to see them succeed. They're pompous. They're cheaters. Just get rid of them.
And the more that I think about it, I don't hate that idea.
No, it's not. No,
it's not because
it's not this year. It'd be next year.
It's not because I hate the Patriots. It's just because I think it goes back to my point that you have to give a ridiculous punishment because there's no guideline. There's no rule book really for this.
And so all I'm going to look at is what happened to him last time. And you already took around the first round selection, which I didn't know happened. You already fined Belichick the biggest fine ever.
And apparently that didn't stop the Patriots from saying, okay, we'll lay low for a little bit, and then we'll get back to what we did.
Yeah, exactly. Because they pumped in balls, or they deflated the balls, or whatever, all that stuff. Which they probably did, for sure. Like, I know they fought it, and he got suspended, and there wasn't a lot of evidence, but we all know he did. Like, why would the balls be
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right, and the Colts had a very good chance to win that game, too, going into it, I remember. But so at least you have to have a fine in the millions for Belichick, if he's really involved. I don't know. I'm just saying.
If he's really involved, like I just told you, I'm telling you right now, you cannot go to the bathroom on the premises in the New England Patriots organization without telling Bill Belichick. Like, you cannot do anything. He is the grand master of all.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm telling you, he knows everything that goes on within the confines of that stadium.
Oh, so here's another thing that happened. So it said...
Of course he does. That's why I'm saying he's insulting our intelligence by trying to play it off.
Yeah, he's going to talk all low and not say anything because that's his thing. But here's the other thing. If the Patriots would have missed the playoffs that year, they would have forfeited their second and third round selections instead. So...
As opposed to a first.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
As opposed to first. So, there needs to be at least the first round. But I think all three of those should be dead in line. Screw it. Do all three of them, at least, and millions of dollars of fine. At least, if it's true. This is a repeat offender, and to be honest, it's worse. I think if you do the playoff ban, nobody's ever doing that stuff again.
Right. But here's the thing. I want to mention something. Yeah. We do got to move on. You said if it's true. There's evidence of what they did. Like, this isn't about if this is true or not.
No, true. And you can hear it in the guy's voice.
They did it.
You can hear it in the guy's voice.
The guy was backpedaling so hard.
Don't you love it? Maybe I love it a little more.
I think you do.
But don't you love it that it's a guy with a Boston accent who gets caught doing it too? Like, it's so obvious it's the Patriots. Yeah. Because you hear Mark Wahlberg in the background. So he's just saying stuff.
Not even a question.
Yeah, so this is so awesome. I hope they get in so much trouble. I hope they don't get the Super Bowl this year just because. It's done, man. My Patriots friends are going to hate me after this podcast.
That's okay. We're not on this to make friends.
No, that's true. That's true. Okay, so let's move on. Speaking of rivalries, speaking of stuff that we can debate about, let's move on to basketball. We're going to end this podcast talking Lakers and Clippers. They play on Christmas Day. So many people in Southern California have been anticipating this game because it's potentially the two best teams in the NBA. Bucks are good too, but they're in the East, so they won't affect the Lakers and Clippers in the playoffs.
Two best teams in the West.
Until the finals. Jerry, what's your initial thought? And we're gonna go full rosters here, assuming nobody's nobody rolls their ankle or nobody's on load management. I think especially LeBron, he's kind of like tied in with the NBA. I don't think he would take a game like that off.
No, LeBron's already said he's like, unless I get injured, not
No, it would be more against the Clippers. It'd be more
management.
against the Clippers that would do this, but I don't think they would do that because I think they want to win too. And guys like Beverly and Lou Williams.
Well, especially
and
listen, it's going to be nationally televised. It's on Christmas.
5 p.m. to
This
start.
isn't, a Tuesday night game against the Orlando Magic.
No, it's Christmas night. This is the biggest game of the regular season, to be honest. But besides maybe the first game of the season. But so we're going full rosters. What's your initial thought? I have a feeling who I think you're going to pick to win, but what do you think? How do you think it flows with both teams' rosters?
Listen, I think this is back and forth. This is a heavyweight battle. Not arguably, this is the two best teams in the West, and you can make an argument that it's the two best teams in the entire NBA. Now, when you look at the rosters equally, I actually give that head-to-head roster battle to the Clippers. I think they have more depth and more guys that can come off the bench and affect a game more so than the Lakers can. I give the Lakers the benefit of the doubt with their actual starting lineup and their superstars. I think the combination of Anthony Davis and LeBron James beats out the combination of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And I think that's just because of their size, their length, their physicality, all of that. Nothing against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard because they're amazing together and they wanted to. Here's the thing. Those guys have wanted to play together for years, right? It's not like they got paired together, Kawhi Leonard went to join the Clippers, and then the Clippers magically traded for Paul George. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, behind closed doors for years, have been saying, hey, we want to play together. And when you want to do something and you have that type of power, you make it happen, you're going to play even harder for each other. So, not discrediting them at all, but I give this to the Lakers because, number one, it's at home. When they played in the first game of the regular season, when the Clippers didn't have Paul George, the Lakers got a little embarrassed. And I think they're still stinging from that. And especially national television on Christmas Day, I think the Lakers want to come out and prove that was a fluke. The Lakers, listen, they have 4 losses on the season so far. They're playing lights out right now. In tonight's game against the Patriots, they don't have Anthony Davis, and it's a little bit of a tougher matchup.
We're filming this on Tuesday.
But basically what I'm saying is I think this Lakers team, the way that they're playing right now, you've seen the Clippers have some kind of up and down games where they score 135 points, 140 points, and then other games where they just don't look that great, right? I think the Lakers have been a little more consistent with their play. They are a great defensive team. They give up less than 100 points on average per game, and I think that's really what they hang their hats on. Their defense leads to offense. So, from a momentum standpoint, I'm going to give it to the Lakers. But like I said, I think it's going to be back and forth. You're going to see heavyweight knockouts on both sides. In the end, I think because the Lakers want it a little more at the midway point of the season, I think the Lakers edge out a victory on Christmas.
That's a good point. And real quick, we only have 5 minutes left, and you don't know I'm going to do this either. So this was not planned prior to the thing, and it's going to mess up the microphone too when we do this. But before I make this little prediction, I got to change my outfit really quickly. Okay, hold on. Let me stand up. I'm probably going to mess up the camera view too. But so let me just I don't
even want to look.
We didn't get time to talk about the Angels, so I got to take this off.
I don't want to look.
I got to give it to my man Lou Williams, who's going to do his work against the Lakers on Christmas Day.
I should kick you out of the building right now for wearing that Clippers jersey.
So
what's wrong with you?
I'm behind my Clippers. Hopefully I'm wearing this right. I can't see it because of the comments, but I'm behind my Clippers because we won the first game, okay, and we just looked playing better than the Lakers. Now I know the Lakers were missing Kyle Kuzma. But who were the Clippers missing, Jared?
I already said it. I already said it.
Paul George.
I'm not going to say it.
Paul George, who's like one of the best players in the NBA, right? So Clippers already have that advantage. No, I'll give the Lakers some credit here. Anthony Davis and LeBron have looked unstoppable. They've looked unstoppable.
Have you seen them play at all?
Kuzma, no, I've seen them play a lot. I bet them a lot, and I've won a lot.
And you're just giving them some credit?
Yeah, I'm going to give them some credit against the Clippers. Everybody says their size is great. Well, what happened in the first game? Size didn't matter. You had Kawhi and Montrezl Harrell beating Anthony Davis and LeBron. Now, I'm just saying, okay? And this is another thing that's going to give me so much heat after this podcast is released. Because I have so many Lakers fans.
You deserve it for wearing that damn jersey.
Every single time the Clippers lose, I get texted about what's going on and, oh, you guys lost to this team. The Clippers aren't trying to win the regular season title. Lakers can win that if they want. The Clippers, the reason they do this load management, the reason they make sure their stars are okay is because it's for the long run. It's for the playoffs, right? When they get to the playoffs, that's when Paul George, Kawhi, Beverly, Lou Williams, and Montrezl Harrell will be in the lineup, winning every single game, including a series against the Lakers, which is inevitable to happen. So, I'm going with my Clippers. Same formula as the first game. Lakers are a really good first half team. Game will be close. Lakers might even be winning, but they're a terrible third quarter team. The Clippers will take advantage, and then they'll just slowly defend them, and they'll just end up winning the game. That's my thing. They're going to win. They're going to go 2-0 in the season, and the Lakers are going to be like, oh, crap. The other team in LA is better than us.
You know what? I was gonna be nice, and I was trying to be level-headed, and I was a little biased, but I don't think I was that bad.
Okay.
And then you had to come and pull this.
He had no idea.
No, I didn't.
I tucked in my shirt. I made sure the sweatshirt covered it.
I'm completely disgusted right now. So you know what I think we need to do? We need to put a little bet or something on this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know if it's money, if it's as simple as I have to make you wear a Clippers jersey or a Lakers jersey.
It will not make me feel as bad to wear the Lakers jersey because I still have some. I still like the Lakers.
Okay, then we.
Okay, here's the thing. So you gotta find something for me to wear. Okay.
Okay.
But you have to put this jersey on if they lose.
Ugh.
That's the thing.
For like 2 minutes or like the whole podcast?
No, the whole podcast. Of course, the whole podcast. You made me wear the Cowboys jersey that one time, the whole podcast. And I still owe Alex Silva a Broncos jersey out in the town, too.
Oh, boy.
So you got to wear a jersey, Okay.
All right. Yeah. I got faith in my Lakers.
Maybe you can put a money bet on mine. I'll just have to give you some cash or something like that.
Well, we'll see. Next podcast, we will let you know what we came up with. We have to do it before the game, obviously. The game is going to be next Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow. We will let you guys know on Twitter what we came up with as far as the bet.
We'll promote it too. We'll make sure.
But please, Lord, do not let me have to wear a Clippers jersey for close to an hour.
It's going to be a high choice here.
Because what's going to happen is when I take that jersey off, it's going to just magically rip, as opposed to just coming off. And then I'm going to feel bad because it's going to be Nick's jersey, and then I'm going to have to go and buy him a new one, and then it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad. You know what else is going to be bad? The Lakers on Christmas Day. That's what's going to be bad. Hey, why do you think there was a reason why I started this podcast talking so good about the Cowboys? Because I knew it was going to be so brutal at the end. This is one of those podcasts, man, where there's a lot of stuff that can go against
this is the most trash talk I think you have had towards me in a really long time.
Yeah,
usually
my other podcast, there's trash talk every single time.
Yeah.
Because there's certain characters on that show that piss me off.
All right.
But this is it's not even your fault. It's my friends that talk so much crap every single week. Every single time the Clippers lose or play a game.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
No, he doesn't do that at all.
I respect the Clippers.
Yeah.
I respect them so much that I want them to go get their own arena and get the hell out of Staples
They
Center.
are getting their own arena, right across the street from the Rams and Chargers.
When? Tomorrow?
Well, they can't build it that fast. Yeah, they're building.
That's how much I respect them. I want them to get the hell out of Staples Center.
There you go.
That's what I want them to do.
There you go.
Go get your own arena. Create your own dynasty. Because as long as you are in Staples Center, I don't care. I don't care what you do. You can hide the Lakers banners and put up pictures of the new Clippers and all that stuff during their home games. But no matter what, those banners still hang up there. Sure. And when you walk into Staples Center, it still has that LA Lakers vibe. The Clippers can win 2 or 3 championships in a row. The LA will never be a Clippers town.
I think if the Clippers win 3 championships in a row at Staples Center, they should hang them over the Lakers banners.
That's called disrespect.
No, that's
how we're going to end this podcast.
We're going to end this podcast with complete disrespect.
Before hands get thrown.
For the Lakers, yeah. Exactly.
So, it was a great show. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, we started the show, if you missed off, by talking about this Week 16, these huge matchups. We got the Cowboys and the Eagles. Nick and I both believe that the Cowboys should win the game. I'm a little more reserved. I don't want to say that they're going to come out and whoop them, even though I really, really hope. And I would love to see the Eagles just get smashed.
Zach can take the last game off.
Exactly. That would be nice, too. Give some of those veterans somewhat of a rest. We talked about the Vikings and the Packers. We both picked the Vikings. Mine was a coin flip, and Nick picked the Vikings because they are at home.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Seattle and San Francisco. We both feel that Seattle will win. Spygate 2.0 for the Patriots. What will happen? We gave you, what we think their punishment should be.
Kick them out of the league.
Send us your comments. Let us know what you think. Should the Patriots #1 be punished at all? If so, what should their punishment be?
If you say that, I'm gonna give you a thumbs down on YouTube.
I want to know. Let us know your thoughts about that. And then obviously let us know if you are more of a Lakers fan or a Clippers fan. Tell us who's going to win on Christmas Day. And give me some ideas as far as what I should make Nick do.
Yes. We'll ask questions on Twitter, too.
When the Lakers beat the Clippers on Christmas Day. But for today's show, that is it. I'm Jared Smith.
I'm Nick Nenad.
This has been the Cover 2 Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys in a few weeks. Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Happy New Year. We will not be here
Happy holidays,
the next
guys.
week or two, but we'll be back during the New Year. See ya. That's getting edited out.